So I'm here with the Hod.
It's the first time you ever called me that. It's a bit strange.
It doesn't feel right.
I kind of like it.
So Sean is the reason I'm on YouTube, in a big way. So it was about 11 months ago.
Yeah.
Me and you went out. You had been doing a bit of YouTube, and then you decided that you were going to take it a bit more seriously. And you said, could we go out and film your backstory? How much budget did we have?
I think I bought you a coffee.
Yeah.
I think that was about it. About £6 maybe.
Yeah, we had zero budget, not very much time, and like one small camera whose battery needed charging every sort of half an hour. And we made this.
Yeah, it's pretty epic actually, because I remember at the time that I was like basically, making some small videos on my phone, obviously not like very professional. It was just crazy to have this, I had no idea about how to tell a story, and, like kind of having you, I learned a lot. Like we did it in 2 takes, didn't we? We did like one in Scunthorpe and then one in Lincoln.
Yep.
And there was this like crazy moment where like, we were doing all of the kind of, showing me going around Scunthorpe and stuff like that. And then there was this moment at like Lincoln where you were kind of bringing all of these like memories out of me and showing me how to tell a story. And I think that was like, for me, like a massive moment for my channel, because like something clicked and I was like, this is what's really important, because obviously you had all the skills with the editing and you could make it look like fantastic, but the real like thing was the ability to help me tell a story. And I think that's what really kind of, showed in this video. I think kind of that was the thing that I really got from it.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
No, thank you.
So yeah, basically, Sean, he dates my sister. That's how we know each other. But we actually have some weird links from the past, from my sort of filmmaking days, to Felix, who is another big YouTuber, tennis YouTuber. I actually met Felix when he was really young through a director friend of mine, Chris. And so to be all these years later, being on YouTube myself, working with tennis players, feels like a full circle moment. But anyway, this is Sean's story. So we're going to watch the video and pick out a few bits on like maybe why the decisions we made in terms of editing, how we sort of put the film together, considering we had zero planning really.
Yeah.
I heard your story as we were making the film. And how we were able to pull those elements together to make a little sports documentary to set Sean off on his YouTube success. And he's been wildly successful without me. So
I mean, just to put it in perspective before we start, this was when I was at like 400 subscribers?
Yeah.
Maybe 300 or 400. And then from there, within a year, it's got to nearly 10K.
Yeah.
So like that's, and I would say that without this, as in, I think that obviously this set me off on a path. Without this, the direction of the channel was completely different.
Yeah.
And this set, like, it was far more kind of like gritty, and like the storytelling element was far better, like just from picking up on, those techniques that you use. Obviously I don't do it as well, but can't afford to have you doing every video, I'm afraid.
Exactly. Can't afford all those coffees.
Cost me a lot of coffees.
Right, so this is the opening sequence. And that's a blunder because I haven't got the speakers plugged in, so I just need to put the speakers back. Right, here's the opening sequence. From close range.
I actually remember you going like so close, and I was a bit like, oh god, it's gonna catch on bad angles, but he actually made me look pretty good.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. So like a week before we shot this, I'd seen a photographer use this technique called lens whacking, which is not recommended because it could be really bad for your equipment. But basically, if your camera can do it where it films with the lens off, you take your lens off and you turn it around, and it becomes what's called a macro lens, where it can focus in on really close-up detail. And so the effects on that aren't like post-production effects. They're all from this lens whacking technique where I'm holding the camera and moving the lens backwards and forwards to try and get it in focus. And the reason that I did that was I wanted to create this sort of dreamlike state, like try to get into what it might feel like to be in Sean's head when he's prepping for a match or in the middle of like a tough game or whatever, and to give it that feeling that I don't know, ethereal and dreamy. And
yeah, I mean, those are the sorts of, with the commentary in the background, that's the sort of thing that, as a kid, like when I was on court in Scunthorpe, I wasn't really there. I was Wimbledon, like US Open, and it wasn't really me. I was playing like Roger Federer, what I mean? And that's the sort of thing that I got from that. It was like, when I'm watching that, the kind of, it is that like dream state, and it is that kind of capturing those kind of emotions I was having while I was on court, and while I was training. And that was the thing, for some people as well, that might look like really hard work, as in what I was doing, but I was kind of constantly in that state of just enjoying it. And looking back, it was like a bit of a like I say, it did have that kind of like dream experience. I mean, looking at this bit, actually, this is where I used to run.
I know,
all the time. So we went and did the run, didn't we, that I was doing, going through like the steelworks, and I was like, bloody hell, I'm not as fit as I used to be. I was getting knackered halfway round. But
yeah, and I think the really interesting thing, like we had discussed, was a lot of tennis can be quite elitist, and the difference of your story compared to some others was it hails from Scunthorpe, a typically unelitist place. And so we go from that like dream state shot straight into the train tracks, which I felt was like synonymous with the steelworks. Steel would have come in and out and really set the scene for where the story takes place. And so snaps right back into out of your imaginary court at Wimbledon, back to where it all began.
Earlier on this week, we saw one of the points of the year with these periodic.
That's where I got hooked. I was like, this is where I want.
Look at those calves.
I know.
They don't make them like they used to.
Training plan being released soon.
This is what I want to do. And so I decided to come out of school. I just wouldn't turn up. And I would just go to my local gym, courts, and just train as hard as I could. And it all just took off from there. I had a lot of
heavy impacts on the knees there.
Yeah.
Not as light as I used to be.
The other thing, I made Sean run up and down those stairs about 3 times because I was trying to chase him and keep him in shot. Like
there was a moment where I did actually run up the stairs, and then I looked back, and then you were like still like about 10 meters away from the stairs.
Still around the corner. We didn't have a gimbal or anything, so it's all only stabilization we had was like in the camera or in the lens. So I'm like chasing him like this, trying to run.
Your core.
Yeah. But run like a chicken at the same time to like keep the vibration. And Sean sprints ahead, showing me up.
Because my parents at the time couldn't afford to sustain a professional tennis career. They were managing a pub in Scunthorpe.
That was something that I was super naive about when I was younger. So I just kind of, when you're a kid, you just think, like people tell me I need money to play tennis, like I can do it my way and stuff like that. And I was running my mum and dad at the time, like when I was younger, they didn't even want to pay for a membership at the local club in Scunthorpe, which I think was like £50 or £60 a year, which doesn't sound like a lot, but obviously, and then obviously not knowing the costs of tennis, like private lessons, and like, I didn't have an S&C coach. I didn't have, any sort of information on nutrition. I just did it all pretty much myself. And like I mentioned in the video, I had one guy who I met at the club who was the Polish electrician. His name's Camille.
Shout
out to Camille. But he was awesome. And he just worked me super hard, had some of the other club members helping me as well, just feeding me balls. My dad used to do it. He used to come up and feed me balls. And it was just, it was just like a kind of a crazy thing. Like, at the time, like I say, it didn't feel like work at all. It didn't feel like hard work. It just felt like I just enjoyed doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the one thing. Like my mum and dad were working in a pub in Scunthorpe, nowhere near the budget to do a professional tennis career. I mean, it's like 30 or 40k a year just to do it properly.
Yeah.
And I had no idea about that at the time. No. I thought I could do it maybe for like $8 grand, which is what my first year on the tour I think cost me. So.
That's crazy, isn't it?
It is nuts.
And so it was like really interesting, like Sean like resharing this and shared in the video. Basically, we're walking around Scunthorpe and Sean's talking to me like this, telling me the story. And so as with like, this was like our sort of B-roll filming day, really. I know you've seen a clip of the interviews. That was all the source information where I was able to develop like what questions I was going to ask Sean the next day when we were shooting the interview stuff. But this was all not really planned out. It's like just very Sean taking me around Scunthorpe, being like, oh yeah, by the way, this is where I used to do this, and this is where I used to do that, and I used to do pull-ups over there, and I used to run down this road, and the police used to chase me around here. Not really, he was a good boy, he never got chased by the police.
In an environment like that, it makes you just grateful for everything that you have. And there were definitely times when I like looked at it and thought, oh, I'm quite hard done by, but then I quickly snapped out of it and realised that I have a lot to be grateful for, and I'm actually like really lucky to be able to play this game.
I used to run through there all the time. So like when I was, finishing my training or whatever, I'd go home and, and then I would just go for a run around Scunthorpe, and sometimes I'll be out for hours, sometimes I'll be out for like, 25 minutes or something, but I always used to run through that stretch of town. And I remember like obviously late at night there was like pretty much no one around. There'd be some like kid on a bike or something, but it was just like, you need those times, I think, sometimes to just take yourself away. And, not being around people is, it really helped me kind of like focus and kind of find what I wanted in a way, which was to play tennis, which was to, be at the pro level. And I think that was more like a mindset thing. It wasn't like a fitness thing running around there. It was like it was kind of like, it was kind of something that kind of helped me find that, what do you call it? Like the hunger for it, basically, to want to play and want to do well. And, it was an interesting time, really. Probably should have had some friends.
Look at you now.
Yeah.
Now, this is interesting, like the interview sequence. So basically, because we only had one camera, but I wanted it to feel like it was a multicam thing, we basically did the interview 3 times. So I had like a rough sense of like the questions I wanted to ask. I had a rough sense of the story and how it was going to present. And so I sat you down for the interview, did a full interview with you, and I was like, right, we're going to do that exact same interview again.
I was like, I can't remember what I said.
Yeah, exactly.
Changing the story.
And then I'd move the camera closer each time to get the shots. But the benefit, as you say, changing the story, the benefit with that, the more repetitions Sean put into the story, the better it was, basically. The more, your confidence grew on camera, because you hadn't done much of this stuff.
No, not really at all.
Before,
I was actually pretty nervous, and I was really like, I actually think I was pretty shit, to be honest. Like, considering like, but you actually really helped me with it, because you were, you weren't like leading me into answers. It just met the questions, and how you framed it wasn't kind of, I'll say like a generic.
Yeah.
It was something that was going to help me to paint the picture, which I couldn't really do by myself. I don't think I could, sit there and say, tell the story. You kind of brought out different things, different emotions. And I think that was what was like the key thing about it, I think. Not just like the story. It was like, I actually started to feel like how I felt when I was younger, bringing back all these memories. And I really missed that jumper. That jumper got nicked at Wimbledon.
Did it?
So I really, seeing this is really like got me gutted about that jumper, because I left it. So I was doing the Wimbledon hitting job, came off court with Djokovic, had all my stuff in the office.
Yeah.
Came back the next day.
Gone. Was it Djokovic who took it?
I don't know. He's probably.
That's also the last time you had a beard, wasn't it?
It was the last time I had a beard, because then I realised I need to look smarter on camera. Yeah. So I started shaving. Probably.
Beard or no beard? I think there should be a vote on this.
Yeah.
Anyone who follows the Sean's channel, does he do better with a beard or without a beard?
And if this video gets 100 likes, I'll rock around with a mustache for a week.
Yes. Or you'll do the...
Don't share it.
You're doing the Wimbledon hitting job again, aren't you, this year?
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that with a mustache.
So the mustache at Wimbledon.
If it gets 1,000 likes, you get to customise the mustache.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or there'll be a full video on shaving the mustache off as well.
Yeah.
That'll be
The local
a solid
club,
one.
because they didn't think that I was going to play tennis for that long. I used to go up there and hit against the wall that was next to the courts because I wasn't allowed on the courts as a non-member. I could obviously play a little bit because I've been playing since the age.
shopping trolley.
That was iconic. That was known about, like, you know, before this YouTube video. That was probably that was legendary. So the story about this was I was in the pub in Scunthorpe. It's called the Berkeley Hotel, and I was living there for about 10 years. My parents used to run it, and it had a Tesco down the road. And then one day, basically, some yobs decided to throw a trolley over the wall. And my dad was like, "Oh, we have to, like, take it back." And, like, my mum was like, yeah, we can take it back to Tesco. I was like, "No, screw that." I was like, I'd been to Turkey a few times, and all the coaches used shopping trolleys to, like, feed balls out of. So that's genius. Like, ball baskets are like, what, 100, 200 quid, that size? We're taking it up to the club. So I just filled it with, like, basically it used to have like hundreds of random balls in there, like, just, you know, terrible, you know, or brand new, whatever, like, had all sorts in there. And that was where I did the majority of my work, serving out of that basket trolley. Great advert for Tesco.
Yeah, great advert for Tesco.
Sponsor Ed's channel. You know, he's got 3 kids.
But what was funny on the day, so you told me the story about the shopping trolley, you open up the clubhouse, like, oh, it's here.
Yeah,
it's still here.
I was surprised. I thought it'd be, you know, like, you know, either back at Tesco or set on fire somewhere.
It's like sat there, prime position, still one of the best tools.
Where I left it.
Right where you left it. So yeah, the shopping trolley is the original trolley.
It is.
Look at it.
We didn't go and steal one.
No, it's still looking good.
Someone was asking me about, like, hitting, and it was the Polish electrician. Yeah, once I got the membership, he started to, like, really help me. He started to pick me up from the pub, take me to the courts, and he had, like, a basket of balls, and we'd hit for a little bit, and then he would coach me. So he'd get videos of Federer and then compare them to videos of my technique, and he started, like, coaching me through that sort of method. So we'd be, like, working on my serve, and he'd be like, "Oh, you're dragging your foot on your serve, you need to have a platform stance and just keep it very simple, and look how loose his wrist is," all this sort of stuff. He used to train me, like, really hard. So we'd get this basket of balls and we'd do drills where he would just feed side to side until either I was on the floor or he ran out of balls. It really
on the floor.
Type of training where it would just be like hit
so this shot is
200
funny.
balls until it's
so
right.
Basically, because it was just me and Sean, like, in order to have someone to hit back at, I had to feed the balls. But because again we were shooting on this tiny camera, like, I could only set up the shot so far, but wasn't sure where Sean was going to move on court as to how bad my ball thrown was also going to be.
I was just worried about you putting out your shoulder. You were really going for it. I was like, the ball doesn't travel this fast then. You're going to have to slow it down.
And so Sean's trying his hardest to be patient with me and really keep telling me how to just feed a ball naturally into the court. And so we got the shot in the end. But
it's actually a very hard thing to stage.
That's very tiny,
like, to make it look like there's an actual ball coming, it is actually very difficult, like, because it does travel in such a, you know, specific way. I see it a lot on social media. It's very hard to do, but you did well.
And I think the frustrating thing for you was on the returns. It's like, you're making me look like a shit at returning balls.
200 balls until it's right. I slowly kind of overtook him, and until the point when I was like 16,
that's a good shot.
17, where
Boom.
I like that.
I just started to beat everyone around. But I'd still do sessions with him, and I think without that, it would have been very difficult. I think that was a real crucial part of kind of my tennis upbringing. I hear a lot of the top pros talking about their love of the game, and a lot of it is really simple. Like, I really enjoy competing. I really enjoy giving it my best. It's like, sometimes when I go on the court, like, before I go on the court, there's this feeling of, like, you know, there's that kind of rush. You know what I mean? There's that excitement to play. There's a bit of nerves. There's
probably the coffee.
It's probably the coffee.
One thing I do with, like, looking back at this, how, like, not bad I was, but, like, how, like, difficult I was finding to speak on the camera.
Yeah.
Like, it was a really difficult. I found it very, tricky to do at the time. And I think something that this experience really helped me with was getting that out. Like now when I'm in front of the camera, I just seem to be able to
do it.
Speak,
Because how many videos have you done since this video?
I think on the channel there's 400.
That's insane.
But as in long format videos, I'm honestly not sure.
Yeah. But you've done possibly 1 to 2 a week ever since this. Sometimes
I think on
more.
average, 3 a week.
3 a week.
So three a week, yeah. But yeah, like I say, I feel like this definitely kind of set me up, as in, when I think back to this a lot when I'm doing the videos, am I making sure that, because there's one thing about giving people the information, and then there's one thing about actually making it you, you know what I mean, and bringing the emotions out. And I think that was the thing here that I was, really kind of learning was, the whole point of telling the story is it resonates with people and, resonates with their emotions as well. And I think that a lot of people find with this, it's very similar to a lot of people's stories.
Yeah.
It's just in a slightly different way.
Because I thought, considering you hadn't done a huge amount, I thought you came across really well on camera and you were super relaxed. Well, I felt you were pretty relaxed when we were filming it. So yeah, I do think you've always had quite a natural, I don't know whether it's just you're quite conversational in general. You're, the club that you train at, you're always sort of giving advice to people, chatting with coaches. And yeah,
do a lot of speaking.
You do a lot of speaking.
A lot of talking too much.
And it's that feeling, and simply
shout out to the grip
strings. It's just
shout out to the grip. Wilson, Nike, Asics. Oh, this is a good thing to speak about actually. Is I've got the tennis ball on the screen. Is the taking it away from the story, the branding, how you've kind of made the Nike and the Asics and the Wilson part of the story. They're characters in the film, because the red bag,
I
mean, the black racket,
the red
colours,
bag has really become a characteristic of your videos as well.
Because it was in all of the thumbnails.
Yeah.
I was because you told me about this actually, it was quite funny that, I looked at how the colours popped. Obviously that's your, you've edited that as well to make them pop, but not stupid, not in your face. It's very subtle. The colours really do, look at the Nike jumper, you know what I mean? It's really making me miss it.
You've been off brand since Wimbledon.
Yeah. That was something that I was that Wilson bag became that was in all the thumbnails. It was a character. It was with me everywhere. Do you know what I mean? It was a very important part, and I think that came from this realizing that the theme, and I think that obviously the color red has a lot of different meanings as well with people, but most of all it stands out. You know what I mean? It was something that grabs your attention. There's loads of different reasons why it's important, but it definitely became a theme from this.
But it is interesting in that because I have a bag that's quite a unique bag, which I always sort of associate as a character within the photos I've done or whatnot. It's sort of an extension of my brand, is that rucksack. And so I do think it's really interesting we can draw that out, because I think it'd be funny if you suddenly rocked up your next video and you had a different bag. I think people would sort of be oh, he's using it. That would be something within your videos that they would notice and comment upon.
People have actually said that, because I did actually swap the bag for a blue Nike one.
Boo.
It just didn't have the same. Have the same thing to it.
One moment that really kind of inspired me was when I went to the Road to Wimbledon, and that was when I'd kind of beaten everyone in the county to get there, to earn a place at Road to Wimbledon, and this was when I was about 14. And I just remember after that there was some sort of change in mindset of this is what I really want to do. I want to play there when I'm older, and I started winning.
So just back on that shot, this is an attention to detail thing from filmmaking, and the fact that you can try your hardest to make sure everything's fine, but that pole there that's coming out of your head, Like, that's really annoying me now, and I should have moved you slightly further on. So it goes to show you can try your hardest to get your backgrounds right, but there'll always be something that creeps in, and that's why having a bigger team sometimes is better, because you can have someone to sort of cross-reference what you're doing. But yeah, as two guys making a video in 2 days, that is not a bad mistake.
This is what I really want to do. I want to play there when I'm older. And I started winning the local kind of tournaments, the grade 3s, etc. I never really considered myself like better than other players. So I just thought about like improving myself. And it was only when I got to like 16, 17 that I kind of like realized that I could be quite good at this. Then there was still no expectation because of kind of where I'd come from. So I was kind of going into matches with like nothing to lose, because I was like, all these guys are getting way more funding than I am. All these people that I'm playing against, they train at like really nice clubs, and I was just, still training in Scunthorpe.
That makes it sound really bad. It makes the training in Scunthorpe sound really bad, but it was actually like, looking back at it, they were some of the best memories I actually had. I probably just wasn't very good at like getting that across. You know what I mean? I probably said things in like a bit of a blunt way, but like training there was so good. It was fun, and I was also a massive fan of the Rocky movies, and I really feel like Scunthorpe is like the Philadelphia of England in a way. It's like industrial, it's gritty, and you know what I mean. So it's like, and a few people have also said that. It's not like an original quote from me. But yeah, like there were a lot of players who were getting a lot more funding. They were training in like these massive academies. And the difference was indoor courts. So I would go out there and I would be hitting in like, I remember hitting when it was like raining. I remember hitting when there was this like crazy like fog that was coming in. You couldn't see the other side of the court. Yeah. So like one guy was just at the net and one guy was at the baseline, because you literally couldn't see the other side. There was so many things like that. Like I remember it, snowing, shoveling snow off the court to play. So many times like that. And yeah, like the thing was, it doesn't matter where you train, you can still train hard. As long as you've got somebody to help you, you can train really well. And I actually look back at it and I'm like, I'm actually pretty grateful to go there, because it made me a lot tougher, I believe. Like, look at the way that I'm built. I barely had injuries. It forced me to be resourceful. All my S&C was done like basically around Scunthorpe, like you were saying. I was doing pull-ups here. I used to work out in my mum and dad's pub. They had a ballroom. We didn't actually. We couldn't go in there. The pub was shut. But yeah, like we had all of those things. I was like really good at doing the skipping. Like, I had all the skipping, and so it did force me to be resourceful. But yeah, that was something that I wish I kind of said a bit better there.
Can't get it all right.
Can't get it all right.
Everyone has them, but I think it's at the beginning when I started playing.
It's also just on that, like your mindset at the time, because I know that you were just exploring like the start of the YouTube thing. You were in a tough spot in your playing at that time, trying to discern a bit what is the future of my tennis. Like, I'm doing a bit of coaching, I'm doing a bit of hitting, I'm doing a bit of YouTube. I still want to play competitively, and all those things. So as we were filming this, there was this not doubt within you, but you had a lot going on in terms of thinking about your tennis. And I think since then, your path has become a bit clearer, particularly with like your YouTube stuff. I think you went into like heavier training after this again. Started playing more tournaments, because you hadn't played many tournaments that year.
Pretty much played nothing up until this point in the year. So this was like basically pretty much like a year ago now, wasn't it? And from the start of the year, hadn't really played anything. And yeah, my mind was like heavily on content. Yeah. Because I was working quite hard to try and fund the career. Because this is like the toss-up. This is like a really, like, a lot of people have this, and this is why a lot of people quit, is because it's not just the money now, it's the money like later on. So like if you decide to play, you're losing money now, but then when you get older, like tennis is a very physical job to be a coach. So it's like you're doing like 5 to 10 hours a day on the court, and it's like if you're playing all this time and then your body's like broken, and then you have to do like 5 to 10 hours a day for the rest of your life. And it's like, you know what I mean? You can really like screw yourself over. There's nothing in tennis to support players, you know, of this sort of level. So these were all my thoughts at the time, and like, you know, like this, I was like almost clinging on to this in a way, you know what I mean? Like this dream of this kid who wants to do it. And I think this actually really helped me to push me back onto that path.
Yeah.
To do what I actually really wanted to do, but my tennis suffered massively. Like not you know, it was either going to be my tennis was going to suffer because I was doing so much paid hitting, or it was going to suffer because I was doing content. And I was like, I can either take a hit now and build this up. And I genuinely enjoyed making I genuinely enjoy making the content. But it was like my tennis is going to take a hit either way.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'd rather put some effort into doing this. And I think this was actually like, for me, it felt pretty important, because after this, I got a lot of really good feedback from people who, you know, resonate with it. They were in like a similar spot. You know, they're like, oh, I've not got money either, but I want to play tennis, and like, you know what I mean. So it was like quite nice to have that. So yeah, it did nudge me back onto, you know, really wanting to play. So,
and it's interesting. I think it also, as you said, like set a course for you going deep on the YouTube thing, which you hit super hard, and it's really started to like
went ham.
Yeah, you went ham. You hit super hard. That's started getting results, and then you started like doing your tournaments again, and you found this sort of like really good crossover with like documenting like a really honest version of what it's like to be a professional tennis player in the UK, doing the sort of the tournaments that no one knows about, like the general public don't know about. And so it's funny to see like this as the starting point and where your head was to where you're now like way more focused, got loads more clarity about what you're doing, and you've just got back from Portugal, playing a tournament in Portugal. You were at Loughborough, which was a bit knackering the week after.
That was tough.
And then what is it, next month or the month after you're in Wimbledon?
June, end of June towards July. I'm doing the Wimbledon hitting job. So I'm doing that again. That'd be good content if I can get away with it. But yeah, there's so many opportunities with this. This is like something that I've realised it's endless. You know, there are so many opportunities, and it really, I thought something at the time that was really going to hold me back was my editing. Yeah. Because I'm really not like a tech person. People kind of...
Damn it.
Yeah. No excuses for you. So something that really held me back at the time was the tech thing. Like, I was really scared about, you know, doing voiceovers and things like that, because I was worried that, because when I actually saw this, I was like, oh my God, that's like the benchmark. That's like, you know, I can't do a worse... You know what I mean? And it was like kind of weird, because I was like, it almost put a bit of pressure on me, because I was like, you know, this is like the quality that I need to go for. And at the time, I didn't realize this is like a real, you know, professionally done. Like, this is not like something I'm going to be able to do every week. You know, let alone like probably every year. So, just cost way too much.
Too much coffee.
Too much coffee. But yeah, I guess that was where I was like, start with what I have, just be resourceful. And I filmed everything on an iPhone, did voiceovers on the iPhone.
I think your first video after this did better views-wise.
That's the mad thing.
Because I said to you that would happen. You're like, no. People will...
Let me just see, actually, if that is the case. I want to see what the views were like.
Because I think you got about... maybe 2,000 views on this over, let's say, a month or something.
Yeah, it was at like 2K for a while.
Yeah.
Let me just... Yeah, it was actually another video that you did that did really well. 4.5K. But then if I go to the video where it was me doing it... Oh, to be fair, the next video that we did after that was on the channel after this was so all of these were yours. So there's like three or four where they did well. They're getting like, you know,
one of them I shot on an iPhone.
Was that
that was the gimbal you hitting mic'd up? That did quite well at the time.
That was good. That was an interesting bit of content actually. But yeah, like that one's pretty hard to beat, because it's like the biggest win of my career.
Yeah.
So that one's obviously going to do pretty well. But it didn't do very well at the time. Had to change the thumbnails, etc. But I'm trying to look at where. Okay, one of the. Okay, so one of the videos was actually with Ella's sister, and that actually did better than this.
Yeah,
so,
and me,
that's
like straight off the bat,
and it did better than me playing tennis on YouTube as well. That was Ella's first appearance on the channel, which actually did. Yeah, that got 5,000 views, whereas this got 2K.
Yeah.
Tough.
And I think you just shot that messing around with her or something. Like you were just playing a bit of tennis, shooting a bit of content.
It was literally like no plan, mic up,
yeah.
Get Ella to play with all the brand new rackets, and just get her to talk about them.
Yeah.
And yeah, she took about 2 hours to get ready for that. It took longer for her to get ready for the video to actually shoot
the video.
Shot all in one take and took about 15 minutes.
Yeah. So the point Sean's making is that like technology is no longer a barrier to entry.
Not at all. Maybe like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I think you had to have like a proper camera, a proper setup. But I think now, like, not giving away any of my trade secrets, but I can use CapCut and I can just make a decent, like, day in, day out, decent video.
Yeah.
The camera's good enough,
Because you're shooting on the iPhone.
Shooting on the iPhone 15 Pro Max.
Yeah. And when you came in with that, like you just got it, and you had, Ed, take a look at this. I just remember my heart sinking at how good it was, and
Get
be like,
me another coffee.
But like that really taught me a lesson. Like it was a lesson that I knew, but wasn't really willing to accept that technology had moved on that much. And one of my barriers to entry with YouTube was trying to make it perfect, trying to make everything look like this of my own. And I don't have the time to do that whilst running a business, and I've got the family, and to set up like really nice shots. And so like, it reframed YouTube for me and how I was going to use it. And you got this, what we're shooting on now is the DJI Osmo.
Great bit of kit.
And the fact that I can just link up a mic, we can put it there, and we're now just chatting, and we're making what's going to be a decent video, Sean.
It's going to be a decent video. You're going to go viral.
And so you edit all your edits are done on the phone.
Yeah,
you think you tried it on the laptop, and you're like, this isn't for me.
Nearly exploded.
Yeah.
The van was like, the fan on the laptop's like, and it was getting so warm. I was like, I'm gonna kill this thing. But on the phone, it's a joke.
Yeah.
It's so quick. Like, I honestly don't know why, like, creators or even tennis players are like not doing that. Like, I learned doing like shitty videos on TikTok, how to edit, like the absolute basics, and then I just, as soon as I felt ready, started making my own YouTube videos, and it was like, it was, I wouldn't say it was easy to learn, but I was like, it is possible. Whereas I think if I started out on your style of editing, like, no chance. Like, I wouldn't be able to use that, I don't think.
And I think the thing, like you said, the thing you learned really early on, which sort of like gave you a huge advantage, was the power of good storytelling. And I think I've always seen, like, within like tennis players or musicians, people who are on a real physical journey, like every day they're going somewhere to do something. It's really easy to document that and tell their story. One of my concerns is I spend a lot of time sat in front of a computer either editing or designing stuff, and that's pretty boring to just watch me designing stuff, whereas every day there's like a purpose to what you're going, either you're competing or you're training. And so you got a handle on that really quickly and started telling like your life through these little stories. And I think that really like helped you, because you did a few review bits, you did a few teaching bits, you still do a few teaching bits, but the stuff that sort of like really took off was when you were showing people what you were doing on your days off, or what you were doing in terms of competitions. Like your latest video you put out, which was like the hardest game of your life or something. You're saying that's had insane like response to.
Yeah, like there was one video that I just put out that the watch time on it was going crazy. So it was 8.5 minutes average watch time, which is 2 minutes above my average. And I know a lot of other creators, they're making like 15-20 minute videos and they're getting 6 minutes on average. And they're a lot bigger than my channel, so I was like very happy with that. So it's like, and to be honest, the footage wasn't great quality, because it wasn't actually my footage. I nicked it. But it was, all the footage was pretty grainy, but again, it's like you have to make up in other areas, like telling story, like being honest, and, you know, I feel like I've got a bit of a unique, like probably sense of humour for this sort of stuff, or I'm willing to put my sense of humour out there.
Yeah.
It's not all serious. Like I'm able to kind of have a bit of a laugh and poke fun at myself, and I was initially afraid to put my losses out there, and now I'm not. I just see it as like, well, if it's all part of the journey, like I have to have the good bits, it has to be the bad bits as well. So I think that's important.
Playing, I didn't really take losses too badly. I would just play, and then if I lost, I would just go straight and train again. I think it was more recently, in the last kind of 3 or 4 years, that when I've lost, I kind of let it affect my self-worth a little bit and saw it as like
a bit of a reflection of who I am, and when a lot of tennis players struggle with, everyone.
Yeah.
Like just, if you lose, you're a loser.
Yeah.
It's not the case whatsoever. It's just part of the game. It's what you sign up for. It's like in life, isn't it?
Yeah, and really. It's funny just watching that off the back of what you were just saying, like changing your whole perspective around losses, as you say, part of life, it's part of the game, and it's probably again, another big barrier to people putting stuff out there is they think that they have to be constantly winning.
Oh yeah. It's like, it's like, how can you tell the story? That's like the bottom line of it, and everything else that goes in it. If you were like, having a loss and you were, completely like depressed and you were letting it affect you so much and you took people down that path, I don't think people would really like that. But if you had a loss and you were showing what you were doing about it and how you were going to win, I think people would like that. Like that, for me, that's what I would like to watch. So, and
I think it's a deep reminder, particularly with sport, because obviously there's lots of passion, lots of sacrifice, but at the end of the day, it is just a game. And so what is it at Wimbledon, the sign? Pressure is a privilege.
Oh yeah, it's the Billie Jean King quote. It's pressure is a privilege.
Yeah, and it's that idea that like what we're doing is like, again, really, we are just playing a game. Like we're trying to play to the best of our abilities. But if it all went tomorrow, like the skills you've learned along the way in terms of resilience, working hard, will always land you in good stead. It's like good character building skills. It gives you a real sense of self-development, I think, a lot of this stuff. And so I think if you can put it in the correct box of when you lose or when you're losing, it's like even that's a privilege because I'm still playing.
Exactly,
I'm still part of the game. I'm still involved.
It's appreciation over entitlement. Yeah, it's like people think because they work hard they should win, and they put all this effort in, where it's actually, if you just focus on appreciating the game and like the fact that you can play, because you might be injured and you might be out for 6 months, and it's like you don't want to win, you just want to play at that stage. So it's like you can kind of keep that, and it gets hard because you forget that, but then that's like the thing that has always really stuck with me is that kind of appreciating, because there's people way worse off than me who play tennis, and they probably win more than me. So it's like, if they're doing it, can't be so bad.
There's always space.
Everyone loses tennis matches. Just because you lose one match doesn't define your career. I think the thing that made it difficult was being on my own. So I would go to tournaments, there'd obviously be people that I know there, but there would be no one supporting or no one really helping. So it's like, you lose and then you go back to your hotel room or your Airbnb or wherever you're staying, and you're just like kind of sat there thinking about the match, thinking about your chances, thinking about how much the weeks cost you,
how's the coffee kicking in
the day, worked to get here, and it almost feels like you've wasted your time. So it's like, that's the difficult feeling. It's the challenge is actually more to do with off court. Like on the court, it's fine. Like you play, and if you lose, it's fine. It's more.
You know what's interesting about this soundtrack? I wrote it for a film. Ironically, again, Chris Godwin, who knows the Felix, who knows Felix, and the track is actually, and this was written before you and Ella, it's actually called Ella's Goodbye.
No way.
Yeah, so I don't.
Are you like foreshadowing something? Is she going to leave me?
The character of that film was her name was Ella, and someone had died. She was a nurse, and her job was to. This is a real tangent.
I wasn't expecting this when you asked me to come and do the.
But she had to prepare the body before, I don't know, whatever happens in hospital. And so it's called Ella's Goodbye. It was the first time she had to do it, and there you go. Sean's great goodbye.
I'm glad it's been like repurposed and reshaped for
exactly.
this video.
Yeah, it never got used in that film, and so I found a use for it.
Stop playing. I hurt my shoulder.
Yeah.
That was funny actually, because that was something I used to do. So I used to have I did it against the wall a few times, but I used to do it in the ballroom.
Yeah.
So what I used to do was like have a chair, and like I would be doing like push-ups.
Yeah.
Like all different types of variations. So I do like tennis isn't hugely like chest dominant, but I always found that it helped me with it, like bits of mobility and then also strength and power. Like it's always good to be able to lift your own body weight. But yeah, that was something I used to do. Like I used to have like 2 chairs, and I used to go like down like that, and then I used to have like a chair at the back, put my legs on it, and I used to do all sorts of mad stuff.
I know. And what they can't see is all the glass down there and all the needles. And...
flipping heck. So like I actually put my hands down, and like as I got up, like knocked a bit of glass, and I was like, I didn't realise there was so much like
glass around
everywhere.
The other thing, because we shot a skipping scene that I thought about putting in, but you whipped your at the end of it, and had to take a minute.
I was like, I swear I used to be better at this. Yeah. But it was like, it does actually really hurt when you hit yourself.
Maybe I kind of accepted these beliefs from other people subconsciously.
This is such a good advert for brands.
Yeah.
They should be getting
onto
into this.
I feel like if I wasn't winning, then I somehow like wasn't important, or people viewed me in a different way, or something like that. And it took a lot of work for me to kind of detach my self-worth from tennis in a way, just to kind of build myself up as a person and be like, you know what, without tennis I feel like a great person. I feel like people like to be around me. I feel like I enjoy life. I'm not like miserable or anything like that. I can have a laugh, and I feel like once I kind of did that, it kind of built this safety net for me to go on court, and it actually made me relax a lot more and actually play better. A lot of the time I'd open like I'd open my bank account on my phone and look, there was just like £5 in there or something. And I was like,
it's even less now.
I'm a loser, I've got no money.
I used to think like,
and I would like be.
The funny thing is, I used to be so tight with money, like so tight. I used to think like, save every like bit and like just whatever, and now I'm like, £5, fuck it, I'll buy a £3 coffee. I'm like so bad with money now, like it's a joke, but like
I'll never be able to afford a house, I might as well just enjoy the coffee.
Exactly. I was like, while I'm playing tennis, like I just, not that I'm like stupid with money, but like that was like always a big thing. I remember traveling around these tournaments, and I just remember like eating the worst food. I remember being in London actually. This was like when it really hit home for me, because I got pretty seriously ill. I was ill for 3 weeks with like food poisoning.
Wow.
And it was really, really bad. And I was eating like takeaway food for like £5 a night. And I was sleeping in a hostel to play this like British tour event where there was like £200 on offer. And I remember just getting to like the quarters and being like, I can't, I have to pull out. And I was just like, I'm never doing tennis
that way
this ever again. And I actually did do it like that loads more, but like I was like, I'm determined not to. So like now when I'm at events and things, I'm like, you know what, if I want a £3 coffee or I want like a £5 lunch, I know it's not like a lot, but like I'll do it.
But there is that sense as well of like you have to take care of yourself, and the older you get, like you, as you say, you've been very fortunate to never like really have major injuries. But you do you notice, as I've got older, I notice how I feel myself, even though I don't feel myself particularly well, not like yourself.
What did you have, crumpets and coffee?
Crumpets and my second coffee of the day. And I'm like, I'm an inconsistent, consistent non-alcoholic. So I try really hard not to drink, but then I drink inconsistently. But when I do drink, I realise like the negative impact on me. It's same with like certain foods and whatnot. And so yeah, I guess the older you get, if you want to keep that edge, you've got to fuel yourself right.
Exactly.
Chicken and rice it is.
Chicken and rice.
I would like be, I can't do this, I can't do that. And I had to really change my mindset to be like, the money's always coming in, I can always make it to tournaments I want to go and play. Like one of the career kind of highlights that I've had is 2 years ago now, I went to Wimbledon, I hit with Djokovic, hit with Kyrgios, all the top guys, and it just like really inspired me to...
Here we go.
Yeah, you are skipping.
Yeah, I swear there was a skipping shot in doing, and
I decided to leave the place that I was training at the time, and I decided to really...
That's the face of a man who's just hit himself in the balls.
yeah.
It was just that kind of
Accurate shot. Couldn't hit them if I tried.
like any results, and then all of a sudden playing really well, getting results, and I made a quarter-final of a 25k, and I started to pick up points and beat
Quite highly ranked. I was definitely in better shape back then. And that's sort of guerrilla. Hanging around with you and your crumpets.
the experience at Wimbledon and everything that gave me, using it to work on my own tennis. The love of the game is going to improve you more than any fancy coaching. The will to win is going to drive you to do more things than anybody that's had it.
Motivational cat poster moment.
Where you go, where you play, court is the same size. So it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. You step on there, the coach can't play the match for them. The parents' money can't buy them a win. You just go on there and remember that it's it's
to be honest, I was actually very resentful at the time.
Yeah,
calm down a little bit now.
It is funny seeing like it's only been a year, and like in many ways, like whether you've calmed or you've matured or you've found more of a path. Like what rewatching this now is like really making me think about like where your head was at the time. I feel like there was like a real sense you were at a real crossroads sort of moment, and lots of things have changed in your life, and it was like in some ways like this starting this YouTube thing has really been like a coming of age of like putting loads of things in perspective, dialing in on what you really want, and just keeping pushing forward with that sort of thing.
I think something that's interesting is I definitely feel like that has. I feel like, to be honest, I've gone through different stages of like maturity. Obviously, everyone does, but like I've gone back and forth. Because, and I feel like that's the resentment came back in a little bit around the time when I had no money, I couldn't play. Like there were no tournaments in the UK really. There was like a few, but the year before, I had not had a lot of money, but I still had the opportunity to play. I still had like a lot of, and I think that was the thing that was killing me. I was seeing people that I was beating, and the only difference between me and them was the money. Yeah. But now I'm like, I still have no money, but the thing that I have is the channel, and the thing that the channel is opportunity. And it isn't just to make myself money or make myself like you know what I mean, it's not just that. Like I've actually that I'll be honest, that was like the whole reason behind it. I was like, sponsors, I can play, I can do this. But then knowing all the things that I've had to go through, I can actually help way more people. Like that's the crazy thing about it. Like not saying that I'm tennis Jesus, but I'm like I'm able to put things across that people might go through like loads of different coaches. They might go through loads of different academies, but I've been through the systems and in 8 years been able to figure my own way out, and I've had to solve different problems. And I'm like, well, if I can put that in a place where if I was younger, I wanted to make it and I was going to watch it and pick something up from it, then, or if I was at a stage where I was like, not ready to give up tennis, but like at a stage where I had to make a choice in life, and there was a choice to carry on or do something else, follow the passion or not, then I'd want somebody telling me to do the, follow the passion. Because at the end of the day, like, look at tennis, you've only got like I've probably got 10 years max, 36, 26 now.
I reckon I could still.
Yeah.
I reckon I could still go.
To like really do something. I've got 10 years maximum, 5 years.
Sean
probably.
has said that 3 times just to reiterate the fact that I'm 10 years older than him.
Yeah. That's what it was 12. No, but yeah, it's like you only have a certain amount of time, and it's like if I've had people come up to me and go, I'd trade my millions to be able to do what you do, and stuff like that, and I'm like, it's nice to say, but no, you won't.
It's like the hairdresser in town.
Yeah.
Like when you asked him, because he played loads of sport, and like his thing is like, I just would have played more.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he played loads.
Yeah.
And he's like, you've got plenty of time once you're past your prime to do the other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's other passions in other areas, but I feel like while the fire is there, let it burn. You know? And there's no point in just leaving it because there's a perception of how you should live your life and how other people think you should be earning money, getting a house, and like all this sort of stuff. Like, because, when you get to 50 and you want to start doing stuff, your body's probably not going to let you.
Yeah, body's probably not going to let you. And like I referenced it in another video I made, the story, we both have 2 different versions of the same story, but it's I've heard like the Chinese fisherman one, you've got it with the surfers, where basically the idea is do all these sensible things, and then when you retire you can start doing that stuff, but actually the reality is your body's let you down at that point, and you could have done that the whole time. And it's about what you really desire long term. And I think most people, they think they want money, they think that's what they want,
can grant them their freedoms, when actually you have the freedom anyway, and I think that's the point.
Yeah, philosophical.
Very.
There was another thing I was just going to say on that, and it had nothing to do with me being 10 years older. But yeah, it's gone.
It just feels like it's the start. It feels like I'm still 18. It feels like I'm still kind of like got the whole world in front of me, and I can still play. Like, it's not necessarily achieving the ranking or getting loads of money. I just want the kind of self-fulfillment that I've gone out there and I've given it my best, and I've given it a really good shot, and if I don't make it, I don't make it. If I do, then great, but I want that kind of feeling that I've done everything possible, and it definitely doesn't feel like I'm anywhere near the end.
There was a mad moment when I played this tournament in Portugal, and it was exactly that feeling where I'd come off the match, I played for 4 hours, in and out of rain delays, saved a match point, won this match in the most horrendous conditions possible, like raining, it was like windy as things were like blowing over behind the courts, like all sorts, couldn't see the ball because it was so dark, the lights were terrible. And just played this guy who was like not gonna give in, and I beat him in this like really tight match. It's actually on my channel. It's that like 4-hour battle video.
Go watch it. How do they do it?
Yeah, it's here.
It's here. it's somewhere up here in the magic of YouTube.
And I just remember like the match didn't get me any ranking points, didn't necessarily get me on any more money. But I came off that match, like, once the nerves had settled, got my Pingo Dos pasta with Ella. Like, she just cooked me, like, this, really, like, basic meal because it was late at night, and we were just like, fuck it. And I just sat there on the sofa, thought to myself, that is what I'm doing it for.
Yeah.
Like, that is what I'm doing it for. Like, the self-fulfillment. That could have been any match. Like, as in, could have been for points, could have been for anything. But the fact that it wasn't for points and it wasn't really for money. It was just wanting to win purely. Yeah. And
the battle.
Getting that feeling. And then going out there the next day and having to do it again.
Yeah.
And losing.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's that kind of like day in, day out, how do you say it? It's like that, it's that day in, day out kind of, live today, fight tomorrow, that kind of thing. It's that kind of feeling. And you won't get that doing coaching.
No.
You won't get that doing coaching. You won't do that getting working. It's purely like something that you've been working your whole life for to do.
And you'll always remember that moment. I often think that in the times when you're having that crisis, and like particularly me, I've got a family, I've got the boys. It's like, oh, you've got to be sensible, and you start to try and live a really small life in order to protect it. And it's that realization that actually, and everyone speaks about this, it's the experiences, it's the times when you actually put all that aside so that you could really live, and those are the memories, and those are the things that the boys talk about, and so it's that time when you wake up, and because I'm self-employed I can do this, they're like, let's go to the beach, and instead of being like, no, I've got a pension to save for, it's like, no, let's go to the beach, let's go surfing, because I'm not going to be able to do this forever. And particularly with the kids, is like, you will not want to do this with me
exactly
for that much longer.
Like,
you're going to go off and have your own lives. And so I think it's always putting it in perspective, and and who wants to live a boring life, Sean?
Exactly. It's like no one. You want to be living instead of what's it like? You want to be living now instead of paying to live, in the future. That's what I feel like.
There's that thing, isn't it? Like, no good story started with a salad. It's like, no good story started with a pension. Like, no good story started with a mortgage. Now, there'll be people who will be like, actually, there was a good story, and like, look at me now, and I've got security. And like, it's a personality type thing as well. I think we share similar personality type in that, where like life is a bit about the quest, it is a bit about the pursuit, it is a bit about living on the fringes, not doing the norm. And like, don't get me wrong, and I'm sure this happens to you, like sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night being like, what the hell are you doing? What the hell have you done? Like,
oh yeah,
and you have to...
Waking up in like cold sweats.
Being like, you're an idiot.
It happened actually with that channel, because the Against All Hods thing was like a thing that my friend actually came up with. So he's called James Bevan. Big shout out to James. James, thank you. He's a genius. He's like a genius. He's like really funny guy, and I was like, I need a name that's like not like similar to all of the other channels where they're like chasing things, and like, but I need it to be like a bit limitless and but also a bit funny. And he was like, well, he came up with all these names, and then he was like, Against All Hods, and I was like, well, why not? And then like after making like all of these videos, I was doubting